Welcome friends, in this video let's discuss about 16th Conference of Parties to UNFCCC, that is the Cancum Summit. In 2010 at Cancum, Mexico, 16th Conference of Parties to UNFCCC was organized, and it was also a place for 6th meeting of parties to Kyoto Protocol. So in this summit, various important decisions were taken. These decisions include the better cooperation between the developed and developing countries in reducing the greenhouse gas emissions and also other important decisions. Let's look at these decisions. And here, all the parties to the convention, that is all the countries that are member to the convention, including developed as well as developing countries, have agreed to report their voluntary mitigation goals for the implementation. So this is one of the important decisions. And other decisions taken in this conference include the establishment of Green Climate Fund. Here, the Green Climate Fund was mentioned in the Copenhagen Agreement itself, but it was formally decided to establish in this Cancun Agreement. So Green Climate Fund was established in this, and decision to establish technology mission and an adaptation committee was also taken in this summit. And this Cancun conference also led to the Cancun agreements. What are these Cancun agreements? Let's look at this. And the industrialized countries here decided to develop low carbon development plan and strategies. These include market mechanism, and they also decided to report their inventory of greenhouse gas emission into the atmosphere as well as reduction of greenhouse gases into the atmosphere. They decided to report their inventory annually to the conference. And on the part of developing countries decided to reduce the global greenhouse gas emissions, and they are officially recognized under the multilateral process. Okay, and they have decided to reduce the greenhouse gas emission into the atmosphere, and a registry will be established. Here, this registry will record the efforts of the developing countries in reducing the greenhouse gas emission into the atmosphere, and the same data statistics will be utilized in providing financial and technical assistance to the developing countries in funding various environment related projects. Okay, so this registry is important because it tracks the progress of developing countries and their efforts to reduce the global greenhouse gas emissions, and based on the information present in the registry, various financial assistance and the technical assistance will be provided to the developing countries on a priority basis. And the decision was also taken to produce the progress report every 2 years related to these events. And the fast start finance, that is $30 billion, was pledged by the industrialized countries for a period of 2010 to 2012. And the intention by the developed countries was made to raise $100 billion by 2020 to fund climate change related projects throughout the world, especially in developing and developed countries. So in the areas of climate finance, as I mentioned earlier, Green Climate Fund was established, and it was given a board, and this board was provided responsibility to maintain this Green Climate Fund. And this board includes both members from developing countries as well as developed countries, and they are equally represented in this board. And a new Cancum adaptation framework was established. This provides better planning and implementation of adaptation projects in the developing countries. So this framework provides the planning and implementation services in the areas of adaptation. And the governments here agreed to boost action to curb emission from deforestation and forest degradation in developing countries with transfer of technology and financial assistance to developing countries in this respect. Okay, here we know that the deforestation and degradation of forest also releases the carbon dioxide into the atmosphere. Either on the one side, it reduces the absorption capacity of the forest, absorption capacity of carbon dioxide into the forest, and also increases the carbon dioxide emission into the atmosphere. So governments have agreed to boost action to curb emission from deforestation and forest degradation in developing countries with the provision of transfer of technology and financial assistance. Okay, and importantly, Technology Executive Committee and Climate Technology Center and Network was established for coordinating the mitigation and adaptation strategies in the developing and developed countries. Okay, and this conference led to 3 important mechanisms, as I mentioned earlier: technology mission, Green Climate Fund, and adaptation committee. So these 3 mechanisms are important in this with respect to this conference. Before going further, while discussing in detail about technology missions, let's look at the difference between the mitigation and adaptation. Here, the mitigation is the process of reducing the direct process of reducing the global greenhouse gas emissions through various tactics. Here, the effort is preventive. Okay, it prevents the emission of greenhouse gases into the atmosphere through various mechanisms, including utilization of alternate energy, renewable energy like wind, solar energy, and nuclear energy, and replacement of coal with the gas. Okay, in various energy projects, and fossil fuels phasing out by use of various innovative mechanisms like employment of electrical car and encouragement of public transport system, cab pooling, and these are the things, and energy efficiency and conservation measures to reduce the greenhouse gas emission into the atmosphere, and reforestation, reducing the deforestation, okay, and carbon capture methods and storage techniques, and these are all the mitigation strategies. So this directly reduces the greenhouse gas emission into the atmosphere. And the other side, that adaptation strategy. So this is a curative strategy because it does not involve in reducing the global greenhouse gas emission into the atmosphere. It only involves in adjusting to the global warming. So to better adjust the people to the global warming. So this is adaptation. Okay, this includes drought tolerant varieties. Okay, if there is a fluctuation in the rainfall for a particular area, then the agriculture scientist will develop drought tolerant, that is the water resistant varieties, to escape from any harsh climatic condition. So this is then an adaptation, adjustment to the climate change, and more spending on irrigation so that less and less reliance on monsoon will be there, and rainwater harvesting for further use, damming of glacial lakes. We know that global warming leads to melting of glaciers, so this may lead to flooding of the downstream areas. So providing dam to these glacial lakes reduces the flooding. So this is an adaptation to the global warming. And the other side, mitigation, reduces the global warming, and that itself reduces the melting of glaciers. So note down the difference between mitigation and adaptation. And other thing is employment of geoengineering, raising of embankments to control flood, and cyclone shelters. Here, this global warming may lead to frequent cyclones. So here in adaptation, building cyclone shelters on the coastal areas to provide protection to the civilian population is one of the adaptation method. So this is the difference between mitigation and adaptation strategies in the climate change events. Okay, now let's look at the mechanisms. First is Green Climate Fund. We know that the Article 11 of the United Nations Framework Convention on Climate Change provides that there should be a flexible financial mechanism to fund the projects in the developing and least developed countries to reduce the global warming, because these are the countries which are the direct victims of the global warming. So to fulfill the obligation of the Article 11, Green Climate Fund was established to provide financial assistance to the developing countries. So this Green Climate Fund also supports the projects, programs, policies, and activities in the developing countries in the areas of climate change, mitigation, and adaptation. So it is governed by Green Climate Fund Board, and this board is represented equally by both developing and developed countries, and World Bank is the interim trustee of the Green Climate Fund. And it was decided that by 2020, the developed countries contribute about $100 billion to the fund. This will be used for various projects, programs, and policies in the developing countries to meet the global warming situations. Okay, and this Green Climate Fund is based in Incheon, South Korea. And next is Adaptation Fund. Here, this Adaptation Fund is to finance concrete adaptation projects in the developing countries. Okay, so developing countries who are members of the Kyoto Protocol. Okay, and this finance, where does the finance come from? Finance will be coming from the share of proceeds from clean development mechanism. We know in Kyoto Protocol there are flexibility mechanisms, okay, one of which is clean development mechanism. Here the Annex 1 countries invest in the developing country in the areas of green projects like renewable energy, wind energy, okay, to escape penalty from the Kyoto Protocol because it violates the carbon dioxide emission cap. Okay, so 2% of that clean development mechanism value will be taxed and provided to the adaptation fund. So 2% of the money will go to the adaptation fund to fund the adaptation mechanism in the developing countries, and this is supervised by the adaptation fund board. It is 16-member board, and World Bank serves as the interim trustee of the adaptation fund. Okay, this is it about the agreement here. Please like, share and subscribe to the channel. Thank you, thanks for watching, and watch my other previous videos as well related to environment and ecology. And thank you, thanks for watching.